I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Rockridge Board for June 27th. Anybody has any phones or devices, please turn them off or place them on silent. There's a binder over by the table when you come in if you want an agenda for tonight's meeting. They're also available by visiting RRPS, rockridgepublicschools.org, district information, school board, and board books. I would like everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll do roll call. Randy?
Here.
John? Here. Bill?
Here.
Matt?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Tim? And I've been notified by Director Schultz, Colbert Cole, Colbert Dahl, and Sorkin that they will not be here tonight. So we do have a quorum. I'm looking at this time to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
John, is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I had no visitor input, anything.
Here, I had sent, and it is on the agenda, it's under reports of superintendent October sales. And I had sent an email following up to the board, and I was just wondering if they considered offer that I had made for purchasing items with my business.
No, it's, I sent you an email back on it, and then you sent an offer, and that is not part of our discussion tonight, so we have.
Can I ask Chair Reardon, what items were you specifically talking about?
So it was basically the indoor play equipment, and then the.
Okay, indoor play equipment where?
That's in the rubber gym.
Okay,
So
in Gilbert.
Yep, in Gilbert.
Okay.
And then the tables, and I'm not sure what was kept, it wasn't there from the ECFE rooms and the school readiness. And it's part of the proposal that I sent the board about what we're trying to do. There's a group of us trying to put together where there'd be a daycare center there and things like that.
My suggestion to the board and to you, Catherine, is they're having a sale this
That's what I told.
Friday, and then go there, and then probably whatever the district does not want to keep, then that would be up for sale, and that would something you probably negotiate with the person running the sale or the superintendent.
Okay, can I ask one more thing? The other thing that was with the Nelsheen is the still trying to get the blueprints and the electrical, plumbing, boiler, and things like that before the demo, because without that, it's hard to do any planning and design work that the board kind of wanted.
I do believe I did give that to a gentleman that's kind of following up on that. I gave him all that information, so you probably want to contact him.
Okay, is that the guy from Kuchiching or the? I can't. There's so.
I can talk to me after the meeting. I can tell you I gave it to him.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
We'll go on to item number 4, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion by Matt, support by Bill. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Reports 5.1, fundraising update. Be here tonight. So we'll just skip that and we'll have him come to the next meeting. 5.2, people are wondering what the web update is, and we have the master Matt Craig.
Well, hello, school board. My name is Matt Craig. I'm the choir director on the Virginia campus at Virginia High School, and I also am one of our co-coordinators for our web program. So first off, thanks for having me here tonight. Just a little bit of an update of what we've been up to in the web program and answer any questions you might have about this. So WEB is a program that is an acronym that stands for Where Everyone Belongs. And it's a program we began on the Virginia campus 3 years ago. Myself and Samantha Craig are the co-coordinators of the program at the Virginia campus. And then this fall, we'll be adding it to the Evelyn campus, where Alyssa Bowe will be serving as the coordinator on that campus. And then the following year, we'll combine into one web program for the Rockridge High School, with those three individuals still remaining as the co-coordinators of the entire program. So a few things about what web is. I noticed on an agenda or minutes from a previous meeting that there was some questions about some web stipends and some of that, so I thought it might be a good idea to come in and just give a little bit of an update about what it is and what we do, so you're more aware of what kind of programs we offer. Web is a program that is designed to transition students into a high school setting from an elementary setting. Specifically with our district, 6th graders transitioning into the 7th grade building at the Virginia campus, which is where we started. And then this year again at the Evelyn campus, we'll be doing that same transition work. It is a year-long program that is designed to help our incoming 7th graders achieve more success both socially and academically. It is a Tier 1 and Tier 2 intervention, which means it affects the entire student population. Every student is impacted positively by the web program, regardless of who they are or where they come from. It affects every student in a positive way. And what we do is we take, depending on the size of the incoming class of 7th graders, we take roughly 30 to 40 junior and senior students who have been hand selected as leaders. We train them, and then they work on welcoming in the incoming 7th graders. Not only at our big orientation event that happens in the week before the school year starts, but also throughout the year by providing activities and events free of charge for all the 7th graders. Again, not just a select few, not just a small group, but all 7th graders are able to participate in the web activity. So it starts off, and is this clicker? Oh, it's just that. Oh, right there. Very good, thank you. So I did just submit some pictures just to show you what we've been doing this year. This is our 3rd year, and it's our first full year of running the web program, because in 2019 and 2020, the year got cut short, and then 2020 to 2021 was COVID year, and so we really didn't get to run web in a real way. So this year, we really feel that we ran web from August to May, 100% the way we hope to run it in the future at the Rockridge High School. So it starts with, I'll just see where we're at. It starts with training our leaders. So this is Samantha Craig at our first experience training our leaders in the Virginia campus in the spring of 2021 at what's called our May Development Day. It's a 3-hour process that we go through that's highly regulated and highly scripted that we put them through to get them ready for the fall, which is where web really kicks off. There's another photo of training, so you see where it's group activities, skill building, communication, leadership, and again, it's all very much very scripted. It's a national program that's run in schools all over the country. Oops. Then what happens in August is then we welcome in all of the 7th graders to the orientation. And we've had really great attendance. This past fall, we had over 95% of our 7th graders attend at the Virginia campus, which is really great, especially since they kind of have to get themselves there. We offer transportation. The district has done that in the past, but for the most part, the kids bring themselves. It's a 4.5-hour orientation. That's a combination of large group activities with myself kind of running a big assembly. And then the students get broken up into their web groups, where each group has 2 of our trained leaders in charge of those groups, and those students, those juniors and seniors, serve as role models and do some activities and get to know you things and some skill building and some strategy building with all the 7th graders. So that's an example of one of our groups. That's Cameron Stocky and Ella Lampa, who were 2 of our great web leaders this year. There's another group with Cassie Moss and Tyson Wilson on the ends. And what they're doing is they're building relationships with these seventh graders. So that way on the first day of school, when those kids walk in to the new building that's complicated and disorienting, and there's 18-year-olds walking around, they've got a familiar face that they can go to if they need some assistance or some help and some advice. They wear those wonderful bright red shirts on that first day so everybody can see, hey, I'm a leader, you can ask me if you've got a question. After the orientation, we have a barbecue, which we have all the seventh grade teachers help serve the food so that they can then kind of meet these seventh graders and be a part of the process as well. And again, this is all kind of funded through the web program. We do a couple big fundraisers a year that help pay for some of these events. But all the seventh graders eat for free, and then we do, if parents want to eat, they can pay $5 to get a meal as well. Again, very high rates. It's a chance for those students to connect with their peers, and again, with their web leaders and their teachers. On the first day of school then, all the web leaders and then the seventh grade teachers wear these shirts kind of saying, hey, we're here for you. This is a welcoming place, and many of our seventh grade teachers this past fall with their teacher squad shirts on. And then throughout the year, once that orientation's done, once we're into the first day of school and beyond, Web serves as a program to help these kids become more successful and to have a positive experience in our school. These positive activities serve as kind of the antithesis to any negative experiences these students might have either in school or outside of school. If you've ever heard of ACEs, which are, what's the A? Adverse, thank you, adverse childhood experiences. Web, the program Web, has been proven to provide positive experiences, which actually combat those ACEs that any students might experience as they come into our building. So this is one thing we do is one Wednesday a month, our web leaders go into the lunchroom and eat lunch with the seventh graders and interact with them either within their group or with just the whole class in general. And again, continuing that relationship building. So you see some older students there sitting with the table of seventh graders we gave them, sometimes it was just have conversations and just wander around, and sometimes we gave them specific things. Hey, it's homecoming week, talk about the dance, talk about the football game, and get them some actual information. Another picture of that Web Wednesday experience with some leaders intermixed with those seventh graders. And then about every 2 months, maybe once a quarter, this year we did a larger event for all the seventh graders. So in October we did, it was a curricular and so an academic and kind of a more fun activity. In the seventh grade English class, all of the seventh graders researched a haunted college. So kind of tying in with Avid and the college experience, researched what they thought would be their favorite haunted college in English class for a day and wrote up a little report on that. And then at the end of that week, we got all the seventh graders together in the music area. We had 160 pumpkins donated from Simics Farm, and we brought in paint, and then the students got to decorate the pumpkins with the logo of the haunted college, or really however they wanted to, but we wanted to kind of tie it into the Halloween college theme. The web leaders do all of this. The coordinators, we've trained them now for about 15 or 20 hours up to the orientation. And then once the school year starts, we just facilitate the meetings and they do all the planning. So they do all the prep work, they do all the budgeting, they do all the communicating with the staff and the teachers about when kids are going to miss classes. So we just kind of serve as the guide, and they take over for themselves. So you'll see the web leaders kind of doing the work up with handing out supplies. This was really, when we did our survey at the end of the year, this was seen as one of their favorite activities, was this decorating day. Students having a really good time all over the place. Again, the web leaders were milling around, creating those connections. And they get a chance to socialize with their peers in a way that maybe they don't get to during the school day as well. And then, of course, we displayed them for a couple of days before Halloween in the main hallway so that everybody could see the positive results of the fun work that we did. Around the Christmas time, so in December, the web leaders planned what they originally wanted to be a sledding day, but the weather didn't cooperate with us. We had ice instead of snow that week, and so they changed. Like the night before, they changed their plan, and instead of going sledding for a couple hours, then coming back and making cookies for a couple of hours, they changed and did some salt dough ornaments. So they made the salt dough, and then they hardened the ornaments. So the web leaders really took the initiative there and changed plans overnight. and we're able to pull it off. So for a couple hours, the students got to frost cookies that the web leaders made a couple nights before, and then they got to make salt dough ornaments with their web leaders, and then it ended with a movie. So the web leaders have a lot of fun as well. Our students really enjoy this, the older students. It gives them a chance to kind of be those role models that they don't always get to be, and they don't always get the opportunity to serve as those leaders. So we had a lot of things going on. We had a Kahoot going on. We had some teachers in there. We got the web leaders, all sorts of fun for the kids. They were all busily working. We never had to do any discipline, never had to do any kind of like normal teacher stuff. The kids came in, they did what was asked, and it's amazing what these 7th graders can do if you just give them a little bit of latitude. And then at the end of that day, they had a movie in the auditorium with popcorn and a holiday themed movie. So it was a whole like 6 or 4 hour time period from lunch until the end of the day. And it was really just a fun way to end before they went off to winter break. We took a little bit of break in January and February because Snow Week was happening, and then in the spring we really kicked it back into gear with planning some outside days for our 7th graders, so getting them outside the building, taking them to Lakeside Park for about a 3 or 4 hour stint, setting up games like this. This is called 9 Square. You'll see this a lot. This is another organization in our school acquired this game, and we were able to use it for our outside day. The web leaders planned flower planting, and they brought chalk and all sorts of different activities, and of course sports equipment and games such as this. It was really fun 4 hours outside towards the end of the school year to give them a break, and we had water and treats and snacks for them. And again, 7th graders don't have to pay for any of this. And then that's just an example of what Samantha, Craig, and I were gone for training for web, to be trained as web coordinators to kind of get freshened up. And some of the leaders got into her classroom and did this while we were gone. So they're really self-motivated and driven to be successful. Another thing that we did a couple times that was really popular was we did Rock Ridge Fun Nights, where we had the 7th through 9th grade was welcomed into the Virginia High School. It was a $5 charge, but we had food, we had a movie, we had a dance, we had an open gym, we had games and yard games in the hallways. With only a few teachers, but most of the web leaders did the supervision. So I think included in your packet today is like a whole breakdown of all the different things that we've done this in just the past 12 months. This 3rd year of web, we have meetings twice a month in the mornings where the web leaders, they come in and we just kind of plan the next 2 weeks and figure out who's doing what, and they break off into small groups. And it's been a really successful program, and we're looking forward to the next year, but then the future as well as we move into Rock Ridge, and hopefully assisting with the transition into Rock Ridge, because that's what web kind of focuses on, is that transition. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have, if I can clarify anything at all.
So could these students potentially be like ambassadors for tours that come through as well?
Absolutely. And in fact, we try not to end it with the orientation. If we get a new student that enrolls, and usually between myself or Samantha, we'll hear about it because we're kind of in those email chains with the 7th graders. We'll set up a meeting where a web leader or two will meet them in the office and do a tour to welcome them to the new school. So it's not just that beginning of the year orientation, but we do try to help out throughout the year. And besides just the list of things that is in your packet, every now and then the principal will send emails, say, hey, we've got this event going on. Can the web leaders help out? And if it works with us, if we're able to coordinate with the leaders in time, we are always willing to help out with that, help build the culture in our school.
Do they do any like peer mediation stuff too?
Not yet, but that's definitely coming down. One aspect of web that we're hoping to start this year, but we were unable to, is a web class. So these web leaders, we had 34 this year, would be eligible to take a leadership class. And only for web leaders. It's a semester-long course where then we would then train them. It's an extension of the training we do with them in August. We would train them on peer mediation type things, on in-classroom interventions and strategy building. And then we send them into the classrooms. So we meet with Mr. Hake, 7th grade science, and say, hey, the web leaders are going to come into your classroom on Friday and talk to all your 7th graders about this strategy or this technique or something of that nature. So yeah.
Awesome.
Super. Any other question?
Sounds like you had a lot of fun.
It is, and when Sam and I went to the training 3 years ago to become coordinators for this program, it changed our whole perspective on teaching and changed the way we look at our jobs as teachers. And yeah, it's fun for us, but the kids, and seeing these older students light up as leaders is amazing. Yeah,
Great job.
thanks.
And I'm thinking that it has to have a very positive relationship with the younger kids, because going from sixth grade into a building,
Yep. Where they're kind of treated still like elementary students, then all of a sudden you're in the halls with 7
Yep.
with 18-year-olds.
Yep.
It's a huge transition. And so we saw a need, and I believe originally Dr. Schmidt and Lisa Perkovich were the ones that kind of brought this to our attention, and we wanted to help out. So, yeah.
super. Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5.3. Dr. Schmidt.
The school board. I have some updates and info, and then let's have a little fun. We got another one of my crazy drawings again. So, because I knew you missed them. So a couple things before we get there. One is the Roosevelt sale. We just recently had a sale of unused, unneeded, excess furniture in the Roosevelt gym. It went very well. You sold $5,000 total worth of stuff. There were some things that were older in there because they were pulled out of the Roosevelt building. It's an older building, banister railings. There were some other cabinets that were also for sale. Trophies, uniforms, and we wanted the public to have them, so these were not high-priced items like you could get a jersey for $1. You could pick up a bookshelf for $5. Maybe if it was nice, maybe it might cost you $10 or something like that. Filing cabinets, $5 a buck. So it went very well. The custodians, again, were great in helping move things out. So it was pretty fast as far as somebody bought something. We were able to get it out fairly quickly. When the doors opened at 10 o'clock, some of you were there. There must have been 150 people in line to go in. Now we have another one coming up in Gilbert this Thursday and Friday. So it's Monday, so this is just this week, Thursday and Friday. So for those watching, bring your pickups to Gilbert on Thursday and Fridays to haul the stuff away that you're going to buy. There is more stuff that we're selling in the Gilbert building than what we sold in the Roosevelt building. And so we have 2 full gyms of bookcases, filing cabinets, chairs. Yes, you can buy some student desks if you would like them. There's some other materials there that we have. So we're encouraging the public to come out, walk around. I'm pretty sure you're going to find some really good bargains. And we kept the prices low again. We're trying to give the people who live in the area an opportunity to buy a part of history. So that one is coming up on Thursday and Friday. In addition to this, just since we're on camera right now, on Saturday, only Saturday from 10 to 12, we are going to open up the Gilbert buildings. So people who are in town, maybe they're from out of state or out of city, who want to go through the Gilbert campus one last time, I'll be there. You're welcome to come and walk through the building. We still have stuff in the building, so it's not an abandoned building. So we just want people to still recognize that. But folks can come. There isn't a program necessarily, although there is a possibility that Tom Frozen might have going in the auditorium there a slide history of the Gilbert, the Buccaneer days. That will be the emphasis on it. So that will probably be up and running. But other than that, there's no formal program or et cetera. We've already had the closing ceremony. So this will be an opportunity for anybody else who just wants to walk down memory lane and see their old school, find their locker, find out where such and such a teacher was, and find out where the principal's office was in case they happen to get a detention or get into trouble. So just so you know, that's coming up.
Is that Saturday? July
That's
2nd?
Saturday, though.
At what time?
The building is open, it's on this Saturday from 10 to 12. Then the sale is on Thursday from 10 to 2 and Friday 10 to 2. On Saturday, there is no sale. That is only opening up the building so people can walk through the building and go down memory lane.
And am I to believe that there's going to be another sale coming up again this fall in Gilbert?
Yes, Director Eddie, I believe we will be having another sale because there is additional stuff that we don't have out that will be for sale. Some of this will be artwork. There's some artwork, some busts that are, we're not going to have on this sale, but they will be on another sale later on in August. But yes, there's so much stuff there that we will probably have another one in August. So it'll be a little bit smaller, but there's a lot of material there. So if you're folks who are listening to this, don't go to the retail store to buy these things. First, go to the Gilbert sale and check it out. There's a lot of good stuff that's going to be for sale, but it's old, you know, so you just have to understand it.
So will you have any like Virginia stuff there for those people that missed the sale in Virginia? Some of the Blue Devil stuff, will you have that at the Gilbert sale at all? or-
Excellent question. We frankly did not want to bring Blue Devil stuff to Gilbert. And so when the high school, there is some additional Blue Devil stuff. And I don't want to get parochial here, but I also want to respect that this is the Gilbert sale and what we had was the Roosevelt sale. And so we do have some other more Virginia stuff. So when the Virginia high school closes and we'll have another ceremony, that's when we'll pull out whatever Blue Devil stuff we have left and people can buy it at the Virginia high school sale. So the Gilbert one is only either, it's bare clothing, that's what almost all of it is. So, yeah, so we're trying to, even though we're actually getting a lot of people who are coming from all over to these sales. They're not paying attention to boundary lines, which is absolutely great. But, so if you want uniforms, you have many opportunities to get more of them. Any questions from board members on?
Yes, I touched on what Catherine Distrop talked about, some of the equipment that's in the room. I mean,
I know exactly
Okay.
what she's talking about.
all right.
So when the teachers and other staff were cleaning out the rooms, a lot of it was in the hallway temporarily. And they were trying to figure out where it goes. So a lot of that stuff, they have moved to a different location because they're going to use it for next year. There were some other stuff that they moved to other agencies because like Head Start, that's not us running it. That's really someone else. And so, however, some of that material will be for sale at the sale in Gilbert this Thursday and Friday. So it looked like stuff that might be ready to get thrown away. It's not. It's stuff that it's just a lot of stuff. And so they were moving it. So there will be some stuff for sale Thursday, Friday.
Very good.
All right? Next thing, as I get some water. Okay, so how can I present a topic that normally is kind of boring to a lot of people? So we're heading down to strategic planning. We've talked about that. We've already done a lot of the stuff. And you saw me go through, or heard me going through some curriculum strategic planning stuff with the rubrics. That's those big long pages that we briefly went through at another board meeting. So I'm not going to do that to you again, but we're setting the stage where, as a board, I believe we're going to need to meet for an hour to talk about some other components of the strategic plan that maybe we need to include in addition to what we've got. And I'm going to suggest maybe before the August first board meeting in August, maybe have a work study session at 5. I think we can get done what we need to in 45, 50 minutes, and then have your regular meeting at 6. The one coming up in July probably isn't a really good one because KA is going to do their quarterly update. Those usually tend to be quite long. So that's why I'm suggesting that for August. But in setting the stage for that, it's really kind of like a highway. You know, you're going from point A to point B. And then it's really, I know it can get very complex. I know you can hire consultants, they do this for a living. I know frankly, there's all sorts of different ways to do strategic planning. Fundamentally though, when you break it down, it's really going from here to there. How are you going to do it? That's really what it is. And then when we're doing this, it's important to keep in mind, when you're going down the highway, you kind of see these billboards on the side. So when you're going down the highway, you read the billboard, then you read the next one. That's what this is. You're reading the billboard. So if you're going down the highway, just go right, left, right, left, right. So the sentence's whole point of strategy is to raise the probability of success. That's really all it is. We want to raise the likelihood that we're going to be successful. So that's really what the whole point of strategic planning is. Now, an important part of this is strategic planning does not cover everything, and we want to be smart about it. Basically, we start small, fire bullets, then you fire cannonballs. And we've done that in a lot of what we've done. We did that with the web that you just heard about. We started that fairly small. We didn't really go hog, but I know Matt was, boom, he was out the chute right away. So kudos to he and Samantha. So we've gone small in the media program. We started the Career Academy smaller, and this allows us to go bigger. So you go a little slower first, and then that allows you to go faster later on. So the basic gist of strategic planning is it's going to start with some kind of beliefs. We believe in something. That's really where everything starts. The next process, there's always some kind of vision. There's some kind of mission. Now, we've done part of this because you had a group of kids and adults meet and teachers and talk about this process. So I don't believe we need to recycle everything, even though some people would start you at the very beginning. If you hire a consultant for say, I don't think we need to do that here. And there's always on strategic planning, there's always some parameters. We're not going to do everything. You're not going to tell me that you want to do everything in the world. That's not the mission of schools. There are going to be some parameters on what's going on. And there's going to be some kind of big objectives, not little things. These are going to be major, big objectives. And once we have those, then we're also going to go to strategies and tactics. Strategies are bigger, tactics are smaller. So you need both. They kind of work hand in hand. You can't have a strategy without tactics because it goes nowhere. But you can't have tactics without strategy because then you're just doing a bunch of little stuff without a general goal in mind. It almost appears to be randomly happening. And then everybody knows this. There's always some kind of action plan. Sometimes there's action plans in 5 areas. Sometimes some schools have action plans in 20, 15, 10 different areas. And that's where I need you to kind of help on how many areas do you want to delve into on these action plans. And then once you're doing the action plan, this is the one that always gets dropped. You talk to anybody who's done any strategic plan, if it's going to go awry, this is where it's going to go awry. It's actually doing it. And it's actually checking how is it going. And so what we'll do with ours, the plans that we put in place, we don't want them so prescriptive that we can't make changes because things happen. What you think is going to happen doesn't happen. And so we do have to have a way to evaluate and see how things are going. And some of the plans I know right now will have to shift a little bit in midstream because something has changed. Now, we've already got some of this, like on the mission, the vision. This is kind of where all the strategic planning starts. And this is the part that also drives some people crazy because they want to go right now to the plans. They want to go to the tactics right away. They want to go right to the strategy right away. So you got to slow them down a little bit. But we've already said, you know, that we have a mission, vision, whichever one you want to call it, education to inspire the next generation. We've already said that. So we have some more, and none of these are new. You've heard this. Our roadmap to becoming the world's best. You've heard this again and again and again over the years. We're not trying to compare ourselves only to local schools, because the reality of where our kids are going to be, yes, well, hopefully a lot of them will stay here, but they're working for companies. It's a bigger picture than just the region here. So they will have to know. Some of our kids absolutely are going to have to know how to deal with people from other cultures and nations. And they're going to have to know how to deal with people from other states. That's how the world is going. And in addition to that one, you've heard this one, an educational environment designed to inspire passion and joy for everyone. I mean, we don't want education to be drudgery. The goal is not to see how many kids we can bore during period one every single day. We want them excited about learning. We want them to want to learn. And then another one, this is not, you've heard this, you've seen this before. The group said we want to have collaborative experiences with immediate real world applications. And here, this thing took off like crazy. People got this just, it was like in the blink of an eye. Why can't we have our kids do something that makes sense? It's practical, it's now, we can use it right now, instead of, well, maybe when you get to be fill in the blank, then you'll be using fill in the blank. I mean, if you're a kid, that's kind of, they don't buy it. So we want to find things that kids can use right now with where they're going. And this does entail teaching differently. Another thing you've heard, meaningful integration of community professionals into the daily education of students. This is one of the things that Willie Spelt's job is to do and the teacher's job. We don't want to have our community professionals be separate from what's going on in the school. So that's why right now we're ramping up and have been ramping up for the past year and a half the amount of interaction that's going on between area business folks and kids in the school. And so there's way more going on than in an average typical school, even on the range or anywhere in the state of Minnesota. And that is going to increasingly continue. The best case in point, Willie would argue with me because he said that he would say there's a lot of other ones going on and there's some more great ones coming on, is the tech ed department with the kids who came out and built the dugouts, built a storage shed. Do you know where this happens anywhere in the United States? Almost nowhere. I am not making that up. Almost nowhere do kids actually go out and build real life projects that are actually going to be used in real time for the school or for the community. Sometimes kids will build houses in the community as part of a tech ed project, but what's happened here is on a scale that most schools just don't do it. And Greg Foster has been outstanding at this. You've got to have the staff who are also willing to do this. But that's some example. And I know we're going to talk more about orthopedics associates coming up. The lawyers are still going back and forth with any potential lease agreement. And I know that's going to be another example. And also Essentia with some things coming up. Those are big areas. And then the last one of these I'm going to show you is that you've heard this before. This isn't new. We're looking for adaptable learning spaces that will continually meet the needs of an ever-changing world. The world is not going to stay the same. The building spaces we need for our kids are not going to stay the same. So we need to be able to shift and make those changes as time goes. And this is another thing where people who are doing strategic plans get into trouble. They do a strategic plan, and then it's like this rigid map that this is exactly what has to happen. And those are the ones that blow up. Those are the ones that don't work because something happens. So we just need to be paying attention to that. And then I included, so how does this work outside of my kindergarten type drawings? This is where this goes.
Sorry.
Oh, Mike's got to switch it.
Did you want me to switch to the other slide too?
Yeah.
Or were you going up and down the road more?
No, we're done with the
Okay.
road.
All right, sounds good.
Mike does like going up and down the road. So you can see the words and everything else flash by. So what does this look in a better looking format? This is what you just saw, and this is what you heard and saw from me the last school board meeting. It's in a different format, but it's the same thing. This is Alicia Schroeder. I'm taking zero credit for this. Alicia Schroeder, the curriculum teacher, she is the one who put this together. So what this means is that we talked about curriculum at the last board meeting. All of these things, academy model, college and career pathways, high levels inquiry, project-based learning, student-centered, tech-based, 21st century skills, research-based, we talked about all of those things. All those things are in the rubric that you saw at the last board meeting. And then, of course, we got some graphics in here. These are all our kids. These are our kids who are actors. No, they're our kids though. This is not done because the address isn't right. The phone number we might need to change.
And you got to change research.
Yes. And so this is a rough draft, but this is how it works. You know, because nothing, this brochure I know is going to get changed again and again and again and again, depending what year it is and what we're looking for. And so we also need something to hand to people who come here, they're looking for school, making decisions, we want something to hand them. And so on the next one, nothing on here is new. You've seen this, you've heard this, it's just put in a different form. Like on the left here, yep, that's you, yep, they're right in front of Laurentian. And here's the vision, education to inspire the next generation. These are all the things that you heard me talk about last time we met as a board and that I just went over again. Other than that, they look way better than my poorly drawn highway with the road signs. So another intent here is to say the same thing two different ways because the audience is different each time. All of this stuff in the middle on instruction, this is not new. This is Avid, depending which teacher you are. We have teachers who are anywhere from 0 to 6 years of experience with Avid. PBL, the gold standard design process, we have some teachers who are familiar with it. We're going to have 100% of teachers who are going to know what that design process is. And my dream is when you come up to any student in the Rockridge District and say, what's the design process? Without them looking at anything, they will be able to tell you all of the components of the design process. Making thinking visible, so kids start thinking about how they're thinking. Costa's level of thinking. I'll skip some of the deeper things on this, essential questions. Like there's always got to be a big question, like, why am I studying this? Because the essential question. Then we know we're going to have flexible learning groups, and you just saw that in your tour of the high school that you just talked. They're not all the same size rooms. Some are larger, some are smaller. Even the workroom, some of them are a little smaller, some of them are a little bigger. And the walls, you heard them say, we can move the walls. If we don't like some configuration, we can move the walls and change the spacing. And then we put some quotes up here. The first one is the one I really like. So if you're on camera, I'm going to read this for you. And it's just some quotes from kids. First one, This is a first grader. I really like all the math we learn. My grandpa told me it is the most important subject because you need it to count money and pay for things. Go, Grandpa. So this is just kind of a snapshot of where we're at right now. So we will have some more formal stuff. We'll have to create some additional stuff, and then we'll use some other different stuff to make these presentations.
These will be like trifold handout stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
Something like that. Something so people can look at it within a couple minutes and kind of grasp what we're trying to do here. Questions from the board? Okay, that's all I've got for you here tonight. And then just kind of plan on maybe the first school board meeting in August, maybe a work study at 5 o'clock to talk a little bit about some missing components that you might want to add. Thank you.
Noel. Administration 6.1. Consider approval of the district's health insurance 22-23.
I don't have the nice pictures that were just,
You don't do drawings?
I don't do drawings. So health insurance, we did receive 2 bids for our health insurance for next year. One from Blue Cross Blue Shield and one from Medica through the Northeast Service Co-op. Plan coverage is the same between the two, but the rates are not. The recommendation is to go with Medica. This will be a change to our staff. They're currently on the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. But the difference is quite substantial. The increase from Blue Cross Blue Shield is at about 19.2% versus Medica at 4.1%. That's for the J plan. And for the Viva plan, it was 19.2 or 17.3 for the single, and 11% single from Medica and 12.7% increase Medica. So the recommendation would be to go with Medica, and then we'll have several meetings for our staff to learn more about it and about their cards. And this would take effect on September 1st. So we have a couple of months to have these meetings done.
Is there any questions? For a motion then?
I'll make that motion to go with Medica as recommended.
We have motion by Matt, support by Tom.
And I do think, just one thing, I do think the education component that you mentioned is very important.
And I did speak with Northeast Co-op already. They said as many days as you need, small group, big group. So we'll probably take them up on all those offers.
Perfect.
Very good. Any other questions? Any other questions? No further questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consider approval of district property liability and workman's compensation insurance for 2022-23 school year.
So again, we worked with our local agent to have our EMC insurance. Just like last year, this construction process, we want to keep it somewhat the same from year to year. There. As you're aware, replacement values are increasing, which in turn is increasing our insurance on those. We also have opened up a brand new building in the Laurentian, but we are closing 2 buildings with the Roosevelt and the Gilbert. So in your package, you have 2 different options to look at. One would be to keep the replacement value on those 2 buildings that we're closing. The Roosevelt one is being partially torn down. So as that's getting torn down, we would adjust that insurance. We want to keep it. The Gilbert one is currently going to stand. So what that means is we could keep replacement value. If something were to happen, a fire or a tornado, we would have insurance money to rebuild for that value. But as you know, we're not looking at rebuilding those. So I asked them what would happen if we didn't insure them for the replacement value, and if something were to happen, we just wouldn't have any funds they would just be down, we'd have to get rid of them. So that's the difference between option 1 and option 2. Option 2 does have liability insurance, so if somebody were to break into the property or get hurt on the property, we are covered for the liability on that. We just wouldn't be covered to replace that building if it were to fall. So those are the two options. We talked a little bit about it last week at the Finance Committee. I did ask them for a third option, to have money to clean up if something were to happen, and that is not an option for us to be able to do that. So they brought forward these two options. Option 1 is an increase of about $114,000 for what we're paying this year. And option 2 is an increase of $26,000 from what we paid this year. And the bulk of that is because of the increase in property values of all of our buildings and the addition of Laurentian Elementary.
Did the Finance Committee have a recommendation? Or,
They just wanted to see both of the options.
okay. Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion for option 2. They've been standing for 100+ years and substantial savings.
We have a motion by John, support by Tom for option number 2. Is there any discussion?
I think option 2 makes sense. And if nothing else, properties are destroyed, hopefully the demolition bids would be a little bit less.
So option number 2 also has the new Laurentian involved in it.
Yep.
Okay,
It has all the insurance for our current constructions going on.
okay.
Do you want to take that one and then do workers' comp as a separate motion? Probably. Okay.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of option number 2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Then the second piece of insurance is our workers' comp insurance. This is through RAM. So we've had it for the last couple of years. And we've been working hard to get this experience mod down. It was at 1.85 last year. We have been able to reduce it to 1.6. Just making sure that we're careful as employees and not getting hurt on site. So this quote is a decrease of $28,000 from last year to $190,000. So between the two programs, we're down a little bit in our insurance costs.
Very good. Looking for motion.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Brandy, support by Tom. Is there any discussion? Discussion. With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We're on a roll, 6.3.
Right. This one is for our food service management company. We sent out an RFP to 15 different food service companies within the state of Minnesota, and we received one bid to be our food service management. That came from INAC Incorporated, who has been most of the district's provider for many years. So we did receive from them. The bid included, it's approximately a 3.5% increase to their administrative fee, which comes to about $2,300. The rest of our food service management is we reimburse for the actual cost of food, supplies, and staffing. So that's the same as what we've always done in the past. So the recommendation would be to accept the INAC as our food service management. And then also, I don't know if we need to do it in two, but the recommendation would be to increase our meal prices by 10 cents per meal for the 22-23 school year.
Make a motion,
To include both?
include both.
We have a motion to accept INAC and also to increase meal prices by 10 cents.
Support.
Motion by Tom, support by John. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, when we move forward into the new high school, are we going to look into becoming our own food service provider in our school? I mean, are we gonna look into hiring a dietitian? Are we just gonna keep, I mean, you know, that's been a stickler for me.
One where perhaps the school board will tell me you want to add it to the strategic plan, to take a look at that.
I'd like to have some discussion on that. I mean, I
Have discussion on it.
had presentations on farm to table type things, and I'd like to look at some of those options as well.
Very good. Down the road. And this is for 2 years?
This is just one.
Just 1 year, okay. Any other questions or comments? Further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 6.4.
I've got one more for you. So for the 22-23 proposed budget, we have discussed everything that's in the packet for several months now. So there shouldn't be anything really new in there, but I will go through it. Mike, were you gonna take this one up there? We started out looking at students, and average daily membership. We used the reports from the Department of Education to show what our average is going from kindergarten to first grade, second grade students, and so on and so forth. And then we gathered information, especially this year with the principals, to know how, where the students are gonna go between the buildings now that we have. So you can see the estimated enrollment is 2,293. That is a decrease of 50 students from this past year. And that's, I think, being conservative, but we have discussed it quite a bit with the uncertainty of COVID over the last few years. We have seen some students look at other options, and then with our buildings in move right now. So I think this is in line with what the principals are seeing. Hopefully it's better come next year, but to be a little conservative right now, we're at the 293. Revenue assumptions, the Department of Education basic aid formula is increasing by 2%. This was passed a year ago by the legislature. As you know, nothing has gone through this year at all, and it doesn't look like there will be a session. Still holding out hope, but right now it doesn't look good. So that's an increase of $135 per student. Even with that 2% aid increase, the basic aid that we will receive will decrease by about $250,000 because of the assumption of 50 fewer students. We are looking at using $1 million of ESSER 3 federal funds to help balance this budget, and an additional $1,022,000 is allocated for increased programming. That's the next piece down. This was the grant funding plan that we showed about a month ago. You can see we're using $1 million for the funding gap, the teacher pay of $332,000. We have several hires in summer school and school buses to come to the 2.02 million. That leaves remaining funds of about 2.4 million in ESSER to be used in the following school year. So that could help, depending on how things go this year with the budget, and going into next year, it could help alleviate some stress on the 23-24 budget. Our expense assumptions, of course, we're going to increase spending to match that ESSER revenue coming in, just over $1 million. We have staff contract increases with the new contract settlements of about $500,000. This next one is something that was on the FY22 budget that's not on the 23, so it's a decrease of $150,000 from that budget, which is no difference. Decrease of utilities from closing our 2 facilities. This is an estimate that we've talked about quite a bit. We'll see how this comes out, about $500,000 there. Our staffing reductions and retirements that were approved by the school board of just over $1 million. We don't have our contract for school business coordinator. That was canceled. It's $100,000. I did increase bus fuel and school utilities each of about $50,000 each in those categories, just looking at how things are going within our economy right now. And then food costs, increase of about $64,000. That's not just the cost of food, but probably needing more food with the number of days and students participating in food service next year. This next sheet is looking at our budget, the 21-22 budget compared to the 22-23 by category. So you can see what we spent on salaries, wages. Those are the 100s. It's a decrease of $65,000. Employee benefits, there's a decrease of $86,000 in that. Purchase services, those are many different things. That's substitute teachers, contractors, utilities are part of that. Shared staff that we have with like the Northland Learning Center, our food service management company. Those are all types of things that are in that category. You can see there's a decrease of $397 there. Supplies, materials, a slight increase. Capital expenditures, that increase is actually for the buses that we talked about in the last slide. And debt service is based on our repayment schedule. So you can see there's a decrease there. Doesn't really affect what we can do with the money, but it's just our payment schedule. We see less in revenue there too. So you can see overall there's a decrease of about $500,000 in expenditures for the year. And then the final page is the budget by fund. So the general fund, Fund 1, 3, and 5 is a decrease of almost $218,000. Fund 1's a slight increase, $64,000. Community ed right now we're looking at no change. Debt service, like I just talked about. So bottom line, the fund balance is a slight increase of $19,000. In a $50 million budget, 19 is about a balanced budget. There's not a lot of room there. And again, remember, we were able to do this because we did use $1 million of ESSER funds to plug that funding gap. So that is something we'll have to look at into the future. Fortunate that we have some dollars still in ESSER funds to help with that next year. And hopefully we'll get some help from the state legislature as well going forward. That would be numbers we were receiving on estimates of what we could have maybe received in the talks they were having would have been extremely helpful for us. So we hope that comes true. So overall, our current unassigned fund balance would be $2.28 million or 6.3% of our expenditures. Again, this is a budget, so it could change tomorrow, but this is our best numbers at this time, and it will change as we go into the summer and we make some hires and depending on where they land on the salaries. And any questions you may have?
Any questions for Spencer? We're looking for a motion to adopt the budget for June 2022. Motion by Tom. Support by Matt. Is there any other questions? Is there any other discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Spencer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Spence.
Good job.
Consider approval of resolution dissolving the Joint Recreation Board.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by John,
I'd support that.
support by Matt. Does the board have any questions? We have Chad here or Noel to answer any questions. There's no questions.
I'd say,
Go ahead.
well, don't want to let them out completely, but is there any money in the treasury, Chad, and what happens with,
When this is dissolved by all the entities, whatever's left in the coffer right now will be distributed back to the groups involved. So I'm not sure exactly what that's gonna amount to. A few $1,000s probably will come back to us.
Thank you.
Very good. Good question, Matt. Is there any other discussion?
Chad, would you mind going up there and explaining what's going on to the public? Because nobody really knows this.
And where does it go from here? Once you dissolve this, where does it go?
So the communities of Evelyn, Gilbert, Fayette, and the school district had been involved in a group that they called the Joint Powers that ran youth sports primarily and a few other activities. As we combined to Rock Ridge, the discussion came by that the community ed program in the Rock Ridge School District could effectively take over those duties with youth baseball, softball, or volleyball, some other things, or they'd be shifted out to other entities like Youth Hockey Association and the Youth Baseball Association, which took over baseball this spring. Each community contributed a dollar amount to a fund every year to sustain this group. The school district's contribution was about $24,000. The other communities were smaller, the school districts was the biggest piece. With us not contributing that $24,000 to the Joint Powers now, with the retirement of Craig Homola, it just made sense to bring all that money back to the school district and run the programs within our community ed program. So we've started doing that. We took youth softball this summer. So youth softball is being run under the community ed umbrella. We did youth basketball last winter. We'll do youth volleyball this fall. We're doing youth tennis in Evelyn this summer. So it's basically just putting more activities back into the community ed program.
Which is kind of a common model typically in other districts.
Yes, yeah.
Correct.
Instead of having two separate entities now with Virginia Youth Baseball and Evelyn Youth Baseball, we just want to combine everything into Rock Ridge. So with Rock Ridge Volleyball, it will be community ed. Rock Ridge Basketball is community ed. So it's going to increase our feeder programs for our athletics. So they'll start competing with each other at younger ages. So they'll be together with those kids. It gives more opportunities for the smaller communities for kids to play at their own levels. The Joint Powers group was struggling to get teams together at the younger ages, so they would end up having to have kids play up at a higher age. So this year, everybody has the opportunity to play at the age level they should be playing at. We've got about 20 U10 girls playing softball this year, about the same number of U8s. It's the first year that Evelyn has had a U8s program in softball. So it's just got to have a lot more opportunities for the kids in the area to compete at levels and get used to playing at levels that's appropriate for them.
Where do they play then, Chad?
All over the place.
Okay.
Right now, they're practicing, some of them are at the IGA fields in Evelyn. They practice over in Alcott Park.
Fail.
What's that?
They're out in Fail.
They're out in Fayette, yep. They're over in Gilbert. So we're using all the fields we can. And as we renegotiate our lease agreements with the cities, we'll put some of that language in there to include those summer fields and stuff like that.
Okay.
And is Virginia, are you taking over some of the Virginia program, or are they part of?
Softball, it's community ed, yep.
Okay.
Baseball is being run by the Youth Baseball Association, and they're basically doing the same thing. They combined all the Evelyn, Gilbert, Virginia kids, Fayette, split them up into teams. So you got Evelyn kids, they practice, that's where I was before. We practiced over in Fayette today. We've got a game up in Cook tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's just getting kids.
So it's actually an enhancement of programs for
Yep.
the kids. It's good.
So just one more question.
Yeah.
How come the elementary, the boys play Rock Ridge, basically all Rock Ridge, different teams. the girls play different towns, like Wasabi East and Cherry and.
The girls do too, yep.
But saying the boys only play Rock Ridge because there's,
No, the boys are playing other teams too. We go to.
Depending on the age.
Tomorrow, they're going to.
minors are in-house only.
I haven't been to one of the Cook games. For girls, I've been to Wasabi East.
Yep. The minors are in-house, the majors travel.
You answered it. Okay.
All right?
Super. Any other questions?
None of that has anything to do with this letter at this point.
None at all, nothing at all.
With no further discretion, with no further questions, all those in favor?
Up to resolution, Tom.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I mean, Tim.
That says roll call. Roll call vote. Brandy,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Matt,
Aye.
Bill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. It's unanimous. Thank you. Consider approval of resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy.
I'll move.
Support.
Motion by Director Bill, second by Director Brian Brandy.
Got a new name too, I guess.
And we're gonna, I haven't called you yet. Is there any questions or discussion? Is there any discussion? Without any discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
It's a roll call.
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Brandy,
Yes.
and Tim votes yes. It's unanimous. Consider approval of MOU between the Northland Foundation and Rock Ridge Schools.
I'll support.
Motion by Bill,
Yes.
Support.
support by Tom. Is there any discussion?
Just a 20-second explanation on what this is. I read it, but
We're telling you no.
In essence, 20-second upshot is this is for the wraparound services with our young kids. Northland Foundation gives us some money. They have some parameters that we follow, and so we use that money to help run the programs.
thank you.
Very good.
Yeah,
He made it
I'm
too.
impressed.
Any other discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 6.8, consider approval of the 2022-23 resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League.
So moved.
A motion by Matt, second by Brandy. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? With no further discussion, Brandy,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
I vote yes, it's unanimous, passes. Consider approval of donation request from the City of Gilbert for the flagpole located at the Nell Sheen Gilbert Schools. The City of Gilbert will remove and relocate the flagpole within the City of Gilbert as a piece of commemorative Gilbert history. If the board members remember last board meeting, we had a motion to send it to,
Sell it.
sell it to the campground. But in that was that we had to take it down, and we don't have the facilities, and the cost they were going to give us to do it would be less than what it would cost us to do it. So that's why we're bringing this resolution tonight up.
So the city of Gilbert will be taking it down and moving it from the property and backfilling the hole that they, okay. Because all right.
So we have a motion by Tom, support by Brandy.
It's a no-brainer.
Is there any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next regular meeting will be held Monday, July 11th, 6 PM here at Rock Ridge. And the only announcement I have is if you haven't got back Noel on the dates that the MSBA can get here, please do so we can get that scheduled. With that, is there a motion to,
Well, let me just say that, one thing, announcement, let me just say that I want all them people who are watching on camera to get out on Thursday and Friday and go buy a bunch of stuff at the Gilbert campus and bring a truck. Like Noel said, bring a truck and spend little and get lots.
okay.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to
We have a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn by Brandy, support by, favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you.